When James and I moved into the Victorian fixer-upper, we expected creaky floors and drafty windows, not the hidden door we found in the basement. It was small, barely tall enough for a child, with strange carvings etched into the frame. The plaster hiding it looked freshly applied, but curiosity got the better of us. James pried it open, and the scent of damp earth hit us. A spiral staircase descended into darkness. "Stay here," he said, but I followed him anyway. The steps led to a tiny chamber. In the center was a table, and on it lay toys, dolls, a spinning top, a jack-in-the-box, all coated in dust and grime. I was about to laugh at how bizarre it all was when the jack-in-the-box started cranking itself. The melody wasn't music, it was screaming. Then the whispers began, soft at first, like the wind, but soon they grew louder, clearer. One stays, one pays. James turned to me, his face pale. Before he could say anything, something grabbed him. He screamed, his body dragged into the darkness by invisible hands. I reached for him, but I felt nothing, only air. I ran. Back up the stairs, slamming the door shut. I nailed it, plastered it, even bricked it up. It didn't matter. The door came back every night, pristine and untouched. Now I hear James calling from below. His voice is so clear, so desperate. Sometimes it even sounds like he's crying. But I know if I go back, I'll never leave.
When I first moved into my new apartment, I felt lucky to find a place so cheap in the city. Sure, the building was old and the walls were paper thin, but it was home. The first few nights were uneventful, save for the occasional groan of the plumbing. But on the fourth night, I noticed something strange. It was around 2 a.m., and I was lying in bed, scrolling through my phone, when I heard a faint scratching sound. It was soft at first, like something small brushing against the wall. I paused, holding my breath, straining to listen. The sound stopped. I shook it off and went to sleep, but the unease lingered. The next night, the scratching returned. This time it was more deliberate. It started in the corner near my bed and moved along the wall in a straight line, almost as if someone, or something, was dragging their fingernails from one end to the other. I sat up, staring at the wall, heart pounding. "It's just mice," I whispered to myself. Old building noises. But the rational explanations didn't stick. Over the next week, the sounds grew louder. Scratching turned to tapping, tapping to knocking. And then came the whispering. It was faint, almost imperceptible, like a voice just beyond the threshold of hearing. I pressed my ear to the wall one night, convinced it was my imagination. That's when I heard it clearly. "Help me," it said. I jumped back, heart racing. My mind scrambled for explanations. Maybe someone in the adjacent apartment was messing with me. I knocked on the wall in response, calling out, "Hello? Is someone there?" No answer. I couldn't sleep that night. The whispers continued, soft and persistent. By morning, I was determined to figure out what was going on. I spent hours tapping the walls, looking for hollow spots, until I found one behind my bed. The plaster gave under my touch. That's when I decided to investigate further. I bought a hammer and chisel and started chipping away. As I worked, a foul, musty smell filled the room. When I broke through the wall, I discovered a small crawl space, no bigger than a closet. Inside was a filthy mattress, empty food containers, and something that made my blood run cold. A notebook. The pages were covered in scribbled writing, my name repeated over and over. At the back of the notebook was a single sentence. "I'm waiting." I stumbled back, my breath hitching. The air felt heavy, oppressive. That night, I bolted my door and slept with the lights on. But around 3 a.m., I woke to a noise that froze me in place. The whispering wasn't coming from the wall anymore. It was right next to my ear. It started with soft tapping under the floor. I thought it was rats. The tapping grew louder, more deliberate, until it became knocking. Last night, I pried the boards up. Beneath was a dark void, endless and breathing. A voice whispered my name. "Come down," it said. "We've been waiting." I ran, but the house wouldn't let me leave. Doors slammed shut, windows grew dark. Then the floor began to splinter. Hands, pale and skeletal, clawed their way out, dragging me into the abyss. I screamed, but no one heard. No one ever hears down here. The baby monitor crackled, waking me at midnight. My husband snored beside me, oblivious. Then, a soft humming drifted through the speaker. I froze. It wasn't me, and it wasn't him. Heart pounding, I crept toward the nursery. The melody grew louder as I opened the door. The rocking chair swayed on its own, creaking in the stillness. My baby sat upright, staring at the chair with wide eyes. "She's mad you took her place," she whispered, pointing. The chair stopped abruptly. I turned back to the crib. Empty. The door behind me slammed shut. I wasn't alone anymore. I don't know why I went into the woods that night, but something drew me there. Maybe it was the rumors about the missing children, or maybe it was the strange, sweet music I heard. Whatever it was, it led me to the clearing. There he stood, a pale figure holding a lantern that glowed like moonlight, his eyes locked onto mine. "I've been waiting for you," he said, his voice soft and hollow. Before I could run, the lantern opened, spilling out a blinding light. I felt my body dissolve, my screams echoing as he added my soul to his collection.